This is my transference reflection. I am Jenny Walterman, and this is my final assignment for AEP873, Google and Education. So the first part, the exploration stage, I'm going to talk about my prejudgments or beliefs about the course experience before it started. The first thing I thought was, what else is there for me to learn? And I don't mean that in like a arrogant way. I just felt like I've learned so much about Google and heard so much about Google, and obviously this is a Google program at Fort Hays. I just was wondering, is there anything else, anything new that I didn't know about over the course of the past few years of semesters of this? And I think probably it's just an information overload. I just didn't know if I could put any more information in my brain about Google products. And then I was wondering, am I going to learn how to use some of these applications in a way that it would be usable in the classroom and transferable to other teachers that I might want to help? Especially, is it usable for cross contents, so for other subject areas? I teach business, and with this, a lot of the course stuff that I have seen, I could see how I could use it for the business classroom, but I was wondering, what am I going to learn that's going to help me help other teachers that are not business related, or maybe like math teachers that don't use their Chromebooks in the classroom hardly at all, even though we're a one-to-one school. The explanation stage, I talk about my actual experience versus my prejudged ideas. And initially, I realized that the G Suite has so much more for education than I realized. We really dug in this class, and I really appreciated that. And as I was preparing for my certification exam for the Google Certified Teacher, I just felt like each time I opened a lesson, I was learning something new, or at a deeper level, something that I already knew, but I understood at a better in a better way. And a lot of the teacher interviews and comments through that training process were very, very helpful. And then as far as one of our very first assignments, when I was reading about how corporate entities use Google products for their business, I had no idea how many used it. I really did not. As I mentioned, I'm a business teacher, and so we use Microsoft and try to teach Word and Excel, and the students really resist it and feel like Word is obsolete. And I still feel like it has its place and need, but it was really interesting to see how many corporations do in fact use the Google products and the shared documents. New tools that I learned in this class, I was so happy to learn about them: Google Keep, Google Tasks, and how to assign groups for productivity. Some more actual experiences I had was my technical knowledge. My group discussions in this class taught me that my technical knowledge pairs with pedagogy and is not necessarily content specific. And I think I've been really hyper aware of my lack of knowledge in math and science. I'm worried about how I could transfer those things over. And I started to realize that the pedagogy of technical education is far-reaching. And then my approach and purpose for using technology and exploring why are we using the technology and what's the impact of cognitive load on our students. And that was extremely helpful to me, super helpful to really stop and ask about, am I using technology to enhance something, to benefit learning, or am I just using it to use it? And how much technology is too much? And this WAIT acronym, what is accomplished by implementing technology? I was thinking about that. We need to stop and ask ourselves, especially those of us that use technology all the time, what am I trying to accomplish, and am I meeting that goal? The conjecture stage, the third step, are questions that I pose to resolve conflict between my assumptions and my actual experiences. And so my question that I decided to pose was, what tools will help classroom teachers embrace technology? Just really thinking forward towards being an instructional coach, and how am I going to help them? And more to the point, what obstacles do they feel like they have to overcome in order to utilize the tools that the district has paid for? And so my questions, part of that was just like, what do we need to do to get past the theory and into practical application? And what can I offer after all of this knowledge that I've been presented with, and all of the tools that I've learned? What am I going to offer, and how am I going to aid teachers in a tangible and real way? And then how can I aid colleagues with different contents and build professional development experiences that are engaging and meet their specific needs? And then also, why do teachers opt out of using technology? Where's the shut off button that they push when it comes to technology, where they decide, nope, I'm just going to keep doing it the way I've always done it? And so I think looking for that moment where they decide to disengage will help me to know how to help them. And then in my analysis stage, I reflect on seeking the answers to my test question. And so the first thing I want to talk about is getting past theory to practical application. And I really, when we were learning a lot about technical education and using CTE to help enhance learning, this theory and pedagogy is a bridge and not a detour. And I think sometimes people think that they're going to be going off on a wild goose chase, and it's not really going to help them be effective instructors in the classroom. And it's really the bridge between learning and the technology being used. And then cognitive load was huge for me. This course about, evaluating digital busy work versus engagement, and how to help other teachers learn what they're doing. Is what they're doing engaging? Is it learning appropriate? Is it an appropriate use of technology? And how much is too much? How much technology is being used in one single day is just actually detracting from learning rather than helping to clarify a learning point or a learning goal. What can I offer after all of this? I was reflecting on that part, and I was thinking I've learned so many tips and tools for supporting myself and others in this particular class. I think as far as teachers that maybe need help with organization, I can talk to them about Google Drive, the Google Calendar, Keep, and Tasks. And then for practical use, just teaching more about using Google Classroom, how they can create a class, and how they don't have to post things separately. If they have multiple units of the same course, they can copy it to all at the same time. Also, practically, how they can use docs in the classroom for shared group projects, and then forms for getting feedback and data in a quick way that provides assessment details that can help. And then the assessment analysis part, where forms will create sheets and charts to help provide data to break down what questions did students struggle with. There are certain questions that everybody struggled with, or for instance, if everyone did fairly well but one student's still struggling. And it also can provide feedback for teachers to know what they need to reteach. The next question, how can I aid colleagues with different contents? And you might have heard a running theme throughout this. This has really been something that I've thought about a lot, and it's really been on the back of my mind as I've been working on my master's degree, because I want to be an instructional coach and teach teachers, but I do feel like I'm lacking in certain content areas. And what I really learned is that it's not about my content-specific lack of knowledge, and I just really need to get over myself and stop worrying about that, because I need to get excited about the resources and tools that I can share. And if I can just ignite one small change, then it will help shift my colleagues towards a place where technology is helping them and not being seen as an eyesore or a chore or something that the district requires them to use that they don't find beneficial. So, getting them to use Classroom or shared documents so that it makes their grading and group participation a little easier. Or even just something as simple as, okay, let's just start with baby steps and start labeling your emails so that your email doesn't feel like, a chaos event. And then another question in my reflective analysis was, why do teachers opt out of using technology? And when we went through the semester and I was just thinking about different things, I think it really comes down to time and professional development. I think with time, sometimes teachers want to implement new technology and utilize it in the classroom, but the setup and converting of formats, taking things from one learning tool to a technology learning tool, they just don't have time. They're not given time to completely convert a curriculum, and so they have to find it on their own, and it can be tricky for them. And then I also think in regards to time, the learning curve, lack of training. A lot of districts will purchase devices and throw it at everybody, and then not really equip the teachers to know how to use it. And so then they're on their own again to learn how to use that technology in the classroom. And then for professional development, I think a lot of times some of the experiences we've had in our building is that we hear a lot of theory talk instead of providing real-time examples and templates and being provided practical, usable, and accessible tools that are available immediately. And so the professional development doesn't really meet the need, so that people walk away from an experience feeling like they didn't really they want to use technology, but the PD was just a waste of their time. Then the synthesis stage. Any new summary analysis or goals and actions that I'm going to put into place. So I want to say that the most practical and applicable course at FHSU is this class that we just finished. I felt like it taught me so much that I didn't already know and how to use it in the classroom. And some of the group projects where we went through every aspect of different parts of Google Suite, the G Suite, was so helpful, and I'm really appreciative of that. Some of the implications of analysis I feel like I've already addressed earlier in this assignment. It feels redundant to say it, but I'll just say that the theory of tech ed being the bridge and not the detour is definitely a shift in my attitude as far as partnering with teachers and not talking about philosophy so much as giving practical, tangible tools. But I also think part of that is encouraging educators to think about why they're using technology or why they're not using technology and how that can benefit students. It will be an interesting conversation to springboard giving tools that can be helpful. And I talked about, helping out with what I do know and not what I don't, because there's no way I can know everything. So I need to not get in my own way with that. And then igniting a change through collaboration. So just really trying to jump in and help teachers and teach them some tools that are baby steps towards using technology more and more and enhancing student learning experiences. I mentioned getting out of my own head, and this next one, embracing ISTE standards, the ISTE standards, that was probably with practically using the tools and doing practice assignments and talking about how we would use it in the classroom discussions here really helped me to not just see the ISTE standards as an assignment requirement for all my coursework here at Fort Hays, but also as a true guide, a true tool for guidance and change as far as how we should be implementing technology